Hi, I'm Jim Retter, and today I'm going to show you how to plan for retirement without having to coordinate it all yourself. That's right, it's possible not to coordinate it all on your own. In fact, if you stay to the end of this video, I'll prove to you that my way will save you time and money, two of the most valuable assets you have. Listen, if you're on Facebook or you've got your phone out, I need your attention. If you're not paying attention, this is not going to help. So let's eliminate as many distractions as we can. I'm a retirement specialist. If you were to compare me to the medical field, I wouldn't be a general practitioner. I'm a highly trained, sought-after retirement specialist. I teach college classes, coursework at local libraries. There isn't anyone in our area that does what we do as far as we know. I've spent the last 10 years gathering components that are required to create a perfect retirement plan. I've chased rabbits way down the rabbit hole. I've run into many dead ends. I've had trials and errors, but we've also celebrated success. It's like putting a puzzle together. When we find that right piece and it fits and the picture becomes more and more complete, it's a small success. But when you finally put that last piece of the puzzle together, all that time and the effort that you put into it, you'll see that beautiful picture that you've worked so hard to get. Our retirement roadmap is the key to you having more free time and additional money. Let that sink in for a second. Our retirement roadmap is the key to you having more time and more money. It has 5 key components. There are 5 areas, critical parts to this retirement puzzle. Coordinating those areas, those 5 areas, assures that you have all the bases covered, and you're going to rest assured that we've prepared you for both the best and the worst times of scenarios. These 5 components are income planning, which includes maximizing your Social Security benefits, coordinating spousal benefits, tax and inflation plan, investment planning, Medicare, long-term care, coupled together for health care, and finally legacy planning. This is the complete picture. In short, this is a one-stop shop for coordinating retirement while not having all your eggs in one basket. They're simply on the same farm. I'm going to show you the 3 big secrets that make this retirement roadmap far superior than doing this on your own. Before I share these 3 secrets with you, if you aren't ready to throw out most of the outdated advice that you've been told, if you've learned this on your own or heard over the fence from a neighbor, our unique process has nothing to do with what you've learned prior. Instead, we'll educate you on how this proven strategy takes all the guesswork out of retirement planning. In fact, if you don't find value in what you hear in this video, let us know. We'll send you a free retirement do-it-yourself planning guide. I have to say, nobody's ever taken us up on that because our retirement roadmap, it's a game changer. You can plan for retirement without needing 5 or 6 different advisors. You don't have to personally go find all the experts on your own dime. We've already done that. The dollar amount that we can save you here is staggering. Trusting one person is easier than finding 5 or 6 people you can trust. Relieves time, it relieves stress from your life. What if we were to do an experiment? Maybe the old way of planning. Having a broker, a banker, an insurance agent, a CPA, random salespeople for Medicare, not to mention the time it takes to find these people that you need to trust. But the number of appointments you have to have with them, that's staggering. And then we can look at the new way. Having a retirement specialist that looks at the whole picture, make sure that each piece, remember that puzzle? Each piece complements the other. One person, minimal appointment processes, expert level planning. And you see, this is a bit of a front-loaded experiment because we have clients that have actually gone through the planning process before finding us. They've had multiple people, multiple suggestions weighing in on their portfolios. The hard part is knowing that if they have recommendations, is that recommendation in their best interest or their advisor? If you've experienced this, I'm correct, right? We've heard it too many times. If you had someone for each of the components of your retirement roadmap, you'd have 5 different people advising you on what to do. Let's say you have 1 appointment as an introduction, 1 appointment for recommendations, 1 appointment for signing paperwork. Sometimes you'll have a follow-up on top of that. For the sake of these examples, let's just keep it at 3 appointments. Each of these individuals is going to require that from your time. That's 15 appointments. Let's say each appointment lasts 90 minutes. So folks, you've sacrificed 22 and a half hours of your time just for those appointments. It doesn't include all the time you spend trying to make sure that all of your efforts are coordinated. Do you really want to spend 23 hours of time listening to 5 different people on the best guess on retirement planning? 23 hours? And that's assuming that you liked everybody, that you didn't have to replace one or more of them. Now let's see, what could you do with 23 hours of extra time? Imagine how many cool new restaurants you could go check out, or fishing, shopping, that honey-do list that you've been trying to get to. They say you can't get time back. Here we are, giving it back to you on a silver platter. To begin our process, we have a 15-minute phone call together before we ever see each other face to face. This is so we can make sure that we can help you so that we don't waste your time. After that 15-minute phone call, should we continue to an office visit? That'll take maybe 60 to 90 minutes. A follow-up would take the same amount of time, and that final appointment maybe 30 to 60 minutes. So in total, your retirement planning could be completed in approximately 4 hours. That's it. I spend more time on your retirement planning than you do by a large margin. Don't you think that's the way it should be though? I mean, really? I'm the expert here. Secret number 2, you guys, the old way is so stressful. The old way is time consuming. It's expensive. We've aligned with elder law attorneys to help us create our legacy plans. We've retained CPAs to assist in creating tax plans. We've secured national Social Security advisor credentialing, as well as the securities licensure that assures you that I have your best interest first and foremost. All these services, they might cost you $5,000. Let's not even start with what I could do with that extra $5,000. Anyway, so far, we've saved you nearly 20 hours. $5,000 in fees. We haven't even got to anything good yet. You don't want to pay all these people to do what I've already paid for, do you? People have tried to recreate the wheel. But why? You don't want to spend hours figuring out marginal tax rates, effective tax rates, do you? I already did that. Why would you try to figure it out alone? Why would you want to spend more time with a CPA, an attorney, salespeople? Most of the population try to stay away from these people. We already retained them for their expertise. Why would you? Secret number 3, Vanguard Spectrum did a study in 2013. They polled 3,000 investors with a net worth of $100,000 to $25 million apiece. They were asked to rank the main traits that they value the most when choosing an advisor. The results: number 1, trustworthiness and honesty. Number 2, transparency, keeps me informed. Number 3, a good investment track record. Trust was by far the biggest factor. Trust is intangible. It's hard to measure. It's different for everyone. Some people trust their gut. Some people wait for reviews, ratings. Some people don't do anything because it's hard to find one person to trust, let alone 5 or 6. The finance world saw this coming and created a licensure that holds the advisor to a very, very high standard of care. Being a fiduciary means that I will always put your best interests first. They built in a component of trust for those who carry this license. I hope you begin to see the difference as we continue. Wouldn't it be cool if you never felt swindled in an entire process? Wouldn't it be nice to spend time planning a vacation instead of your retirement? Going to a movie instead of going to the CPA? All of this is pretty interesting, right? Knowing you don't have to do this all on your own. But right now, you might be scared of an imminent sales pitch. Right now, you're probably feeling a little leery, waiting for the salesy side to rear its ugly head. But not here. I'm a highly trained, highly sought after specialist. I'll never try to sell you anything. If you had an appointment with an orthopedic surgeon, he doesn't try to sell you his services. You determine whether or not he's the right guy for you, but the surgeon isn't a salesperson. I'm not a salesperson either. I don't have anything to sell you. Not a book, not a product, not a retirement roadmap. And relax. Sit back. Let me show you what our retirement roadmap entails. We fine-tuned exactly what was necessary and what was over the top to create a holistic plan that could be customized to each individual situation. In other words, our process creates an entire plan for retirement without you having to do any heavy lifting. No stressful interviews, maddening amounts of appointments, and sleepless nights. I'll always be upfront and honest. I didn't come up with all of this on my own. Like that puzzle, it took a while to find all the right pieces and put them together for the right fit. The first component is income planning. According to the AARP, the number one fear retirees have is running out of money. They also tell us that there's a $6 trillion shortfall between income and income requirements. Think about that. This is why income planning comes first. It is the most pressing matter. Income planning is so much more than just income and expenses. It's coordinating with Social Security and your spouse. It's factoring in pensions, investment income. It watches your tax brackets, adjusts for inflation. It anticipates a ripple effect. Let me show you an example of taking money out of an account to supplement income or perhaps for required minimum distributions and what effect that can have on taxation. Tax planning is like the glue that makes all this work. Let's assume that we have a husband and wife married and filing jointly. They have $24,000 in Social Security income and a $22,000 pension. There's a threshold in place that states that a married couple filing jointly with over $44,000 of income will be subject to up to 85% of their Social Security becoming taxable. Now remember, for every dollar you take from an IRA or a 401k, and please remember, Uncle Sam's going to make you take money out of that account. If you're over the threshold, another 85 cents of your Social Security has now become taxable. That's turned a $1 withdrawal into $1.85 of taxable income. If you were blessed to be in a 28 bracket, think about what the tax would be on that. You would pay 51 cents tax on that $1 withdrawal. How do you like a 51% effective tax bracket? You see, tax planning is like the glue that makes all this work. People take money from where they think it's best. Taking money from an account for income, that's dependent on the market. That raises the risk and it makes tax planning very unpredictable. Managing money this way is not expert level planning. The ripple effect is real. That $1 over a threshold, that can change your tax bracket, which changes how your Social Security is now taxed, which can now change how your Medicare is priced, which changes your income needs. Like so many others, you can try to learn this all on your own and hope that the mistakes aren't too costly. Income and taxation, they're like peas and carrots. They just go together. If you have an income plan, but not a tax plan, you're missing half the information necessary. You can't have a solid income plan without a tax plan. So let's move to the third component of our retirement roadmap. This is investment planning, and it's really, really important. If you hear nothing else, please hear this. The retirement red zone is the 5-year time frame prior and post-retirement. These are critical years, folks. Let me show you why this is so important. You don't lose money in the retirement red zone. How many have ever heard the term sequence risk? Most have never heard this terminology, but sequence risk is the greatest risk that we potentially carry as we move through retirement. Let's use an example, and I'll show you how this works. Let's assume an individual at 60 years old, they've had $1 million in assets, and now they're going to pull the trigger on retirement. They're going to use a $50,000 withdrawal each year from their account. They're even going to factor in a 3% cost of living adjustment. What we'll do is we'll analyze this individual over the next 30 years of their life 2 ways. We'll expose them to a 10% loss, a 5% loss, and a 0% gain 3 years in a row. The difference is, in the first example, we'll expose them to that loss right out of the gate. We're then going to give them 27 years of a 7.5% rate of return. In our second example, we're going to give them that return for the first 27 years, then expose them to subpar performance for the final 3. What happens over time? In our first example, with 3 years of subpar performance, followed by 27 years of a 7.5% rate of return, that individual wakes up at 81 years old, broke. He's gone through $1 million in savings in 21 years. What do you think his probability for success is at 81
with no money. We compare this to having subpar performance on the tail end of his journey. And when we review that, this individual passes away at 90 years old and leaves his family $800,000. Which example would you rather be?
In this example, he was relying on investments to provide income. That sounds a lot like the 4% theory that was proven flawed and unreliable by the same man that created it. When you experience decline early in retirement, you will have wished you could have created pension-like income instead of relying on those investments. It's guaranteed versus not guaranteed. One thing I wouldn't gamble on is my personal income. My bride is too precious to me to leave something that important to chance. No, thank you. If all we did was to plan income, factor taxation, and protect your downside risk exposure, it would be worth continuing conversations, don't you think? These are complicated issues, and if this is all we did, it would definitely be worth talking further. You'd be way better off with just those three bases covered in retirement. You see, that's what the financial industry and the public don't understand. These three components simply aren't enough. There are two more major factors in retirement that could potentially have a catastrophic effect on those dollars. The fourth component, think about this one, it's healthcare. That's right. Healthcare should be part of your financial planning. It's very, very costly. It's a key part of your monthly expenses. Who do you even find to help you with Medicare choices? Healthcare and income very closely relate. When you have rate increases, your income needs to increase as well. Agreed? Let me ask you this. Do you want to worry about all that, or do you have somebody anticipating those needs for you? It's up to you. Now, part of healthcare planning is long-term care planning. Long-term care has almost as many stigmas as financial advisors have. Long-term care has changed dramatically over the past several years. Some companies are completely doing away with standalone long-term care policies. There are now hybrid policies to take their place. Bet you've never seen anything like this before. Before I show this to you, I'm not selling you this asset leveraging plan. I've had people call the office after seeing this video, and they only want me to sell them a policy like this. A salesman would gladly sell them something, anything really. Maybe this will help you see it the way that I see it. Let's say that you won a contest on a radio. You got a day in a Ferrari. You get to drive it anywhere you want to. All day long, you're going to drive that car. But while driving all over town, you never leave first gear in that Ferrari. You're only accessing a fraction of its potential. You aren't experiencing what it was really created to do. Everything screams that this is not the car for you. Likewise, when someone calls me wanting me to sell them something, I won't do it. I'm not the guy for them. Salespeople, you see, they're a dime a dozen. That's what they need, a salesperson, not a specialist. So now you know, I'm not trying to sell you this. Check this out. We call this our asset leveraging plan.
The asset leveraging plan assumes a female at 60 years old, and it's based on insurability. So we know right now we're using a type of insurance. In our example, we'll utilize $50,000 in assets coming from maybe a money market or a CD account or even savings. That $50,000 for a 60-year-old female will provide $4,000 a month of tax-free long-term care benefit for a 6-year time period. So we've taken $50,000 and turned it into $228,000 of tax-free long-term care benefit. But what happens if they never use the long-term care? We've also created, with $50,000, a $95,000 tax-free death benefit for their beneficiaries. Someone will use this money no matter what. But wait, what if they just want their money back after a few years or at any time? They can have 100% return of their premium for any reason whatsoever with no penalty. And again, remember, we're functioning at an expert level here. Finally, the fifth component, and often the most underutilized aspect of retirement planning, is legacy planning. If you have assets over $100,000, you need a legacy plan. If you have children, you need a legacy plan. If you don't want the IRS to get your money instead of your family, you need a legacy plan. Quick story of what a legacy plan can do for your family. John Behrens is a 36-year-old father of two. His father was a meter reader in California. John received a call one day that his dad had unexpectedly passed away, and John was the sole beneficiary of his father's $500,000 IRA. John later found out that the IRS was going to tax the IRA $240,000. That's right, nearly half, all because there was no legacy plan in place. Now let's use the same family as if they did have a plan. John, you see, would inherit the IRA. That's very important. It would now, as an inherited IRA, be taxed differently. You see, John would still be required to take distributions, much like required minimum distributions, but they're based on his life expectancy. He would take out about 2% each year, or about $10,000, but that leaves $490,000 in the account to continue to grow if he did nothing else. This account over his lifetime would be worth about $3 million. Don't you agree that's significantly more impressive than the $260,000 he was left with before? Now, what if we get into expert level planning? Now that John is in control of the IRA, he can use the power of disclaiming a portion of the funds to his children, which also assists in taxation. They would have to take distributions, just like John had. But let's say each child gets $100,000. They take their distributions, the account stays in place and grows. Einstein's eighth wonder of the world kicks in, which is the power of compounding interest. That original $500,000 IRA would be worth more than $8 million over the lifespan of John Barron and his two children. We have software that beta tests this. It shows these numbers in person. This is the difference in expert level planning.
The HSBC did a study called The Future of Retirement, which said those with a financial plan accumulated. Are you ready for this one? 250% more retirement savings than those without a plan.
This is a great example of that in action.
Studies like this prove why our retirement roadmap is the answer. This whole plan is about preserving your assets, protecting them from unnecessary risk. Yet, according to Forbes, 52% of pre-retirees, 44% of those already retired, consult a financial advisor. On top of that, a Harris poll says 71% of all Americans are scared of the cost of having a financial advisor. Almost none of them know what, if any, the charge was to work with an advisor. They're just scared of the bill. The process we built operates around the core belief that all pieces must fit together to make a perfect plan you can depend on. I work with couples, we work with individuals looking for that complete retirement plan. Work with business owners looking to optimize 401k positions, personal finance, employee education. We create a retirement plan you can trust and eliminate the planning fatigue associated with coordinating it all on your own. Strategy calls, they take about 15 minutes. This call allows us to get to know each other better, as well as to make sure that we're the right fit to be able to even work together. It saves us both time. If we determine that this is a good fit for each of us, then we'll schedule a follow-up visit in the office. If you are 55 to 68 years old and have investable assets, you don't want to try to tackle this on your own. If you believe a specialist is better than a generalist, if you want to experience exponentially more potential than someone without help, if you understand you will have to have skin in the game to make this work by scheduling and keeping your appointments, if you've always wondered what else is out there, this retirement roadmap is for you. Well then, who's it not for? Do-it-yourselfers. If you want to or enjoy doing your own retirement planning on your own, this is not for you. Not ready or able to make plans? I'm a highly trained, highly sought after specialist, and I see people in our office from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. If you can't make that work, this is not for you. If you're just kicking tires, if you're not ready for me to spend 10 to 20 hours of time creating that perfect plan for you, this isn't for you. Anyone okay with spending all their assets because you just want to enjoy life and you're not going to take it with you when you're gone? This isn't for you. Legacy planning is a big part of what we do. We're only looking for a good fit. Here's what to do next. If you want to schedule a call with me, simply click the link below. Once you've clicked that link, a form will populate with questions about you and or your business, as well as what you want to accomplish. Then you'll choose a time on my calendar that works for you. Once I have your form back, we'll jump on a call together and we'll discuss our plan. Notice, we don't charge for this. I've had a couple of people not able to find time on my calendar. We do limit the number of new clients we take each week. We aren't trying to make this a limited time offer or any of that nonsense. If all the slots on the calendar are taken, you're welcome to call the office to book a future date that is not listed on the calendar. Let's build something great together, folks.